What is up, guys? Back at it again after the Browns brown and orange scrimmage, which was really more of a stadium practice, not a lot of scrimmaging going on. Not really a score kept. Nobody won or lost. It was really just a stadium practice. But back from that practice, and I'm here to tell you what went well, what didn't go well, and what we learned from this year's stadium practice. All right, guys, so it's mostly going to be good news that came out of the brown and orange scrimmage. Nobody got hurt, and nobody really looked especially bad that you expect it to look a lot better. Just some people disappointed, but a lot of people actually stood out, and that's what I'm going to start with today. First guy I'm going to go that stood out a lot today is a guy that not many people have noticed or really taken note of, and that's Pharaoh Brown, the graduate of Brush High School right here in the east side of Cleveland. He looked very good. He is a guy who has been consistently open all camp, but he was starting to haul in a lot of his passes. He looks very big. He looks very physical. He's a guy who had a really good year, I believe, his sophomore year at Oregon. Looked like he was going to be a top tight end in his draft class, but just got injured and setback after setback. And it looks like him being in his hometown is actually starting to help him develop, hopefully. So Pharaoh Brown is definitely somebody that has popped off the page, at least in this game's practice. Two guys who have been mentioned almost every single day of this camp and continue to get themselves mentioned because of their spectacular play are the two young linebackers, Sione Takitaki and Mack Wilson, and more so Mack Wilson. Didn't see a lot from Takitaki, not even sure if he really practiced. I think I saw him out there, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But Mack Wilson definitely looked good. Had an interception that would have been returned for a touchdown. Looked really natural in pass coverage. These second-tier linebackers that we drafted, look like they're ready to start and could start if they needed to. So while our linebacking core is not really the best that we have on this defense, I think that if anything happens, we are more than apt to fill those roles. Unlike last year, where if there was an injury in that position, we would be left with practice squad guys starting. So, very good sign from the two young linebackers. The next guys I'm going to go with, and I'm going to give an honorable mention to Antonio Callaway. Looked better than he has the last week of camp. He's put together like 2 good days in a row. Didn't look great, still dropped a few balls, but still, continued to improve himself on camp. Still didn't take a lot of first-team reps, if any. I don't believe he took any first-team reps. But the real story in the wide receiver room is one, I'm going to go with Rashard Higgins. Continues to impress, continues to look like he's building off of what he did last year. Had a touchdown in one of the red zone drills, but again, Rashard Higgins, looks like he's going to be a factor in this offense. But the guy I'm really going to give the gold medal to, so to say, is Adam Henry, the wide receivers coach. And you can really see it in how he is developing and how much better these receivers at the bottom of the rotation are. You got guys like Derek Willis, you got guys like Jalen Strong, guys who weren't that great in college or didn't catch on with another team, who look like guys that are going to catch on with another team now that Adam Henry has coached them. A lot of props to Adam Henry. He is one of the best wide receiver coaches in the NFL, and he is proving that, and it shows with just how much better and how much more he gets out of the bottom of this wide receiver rotation. Even guys like Damian Sheehy Giuseppe look very good out there. A lot of guys look good, look like they're going to make a lot of different rosters. So hats off to Adam Henry. He is doing a great job with the wide receivers so far throughout camp. The next guy who looked really good, and he played a lot of reps with the ones, is going to make things very interesting. It's Dontrell Hilliard. Yeah, we didn't see a lot out of Nick Chubb. Didn't need to see a lot out of Nick Chubb. But Dontrell Hilliard ran the ball a good amount today in a lot of drills. And Dontrell Hilliard, for the most part, looked good. Looked good running the ball. Looked good receiving the ball out of the backfield. Dontrell Hilliard looks like a solid number 2 running back. And that's what you need on this team, because you can't rely necessarily on Duke Johnson, who, even if he did not have his trade request, you have to remember Duke Johnson is somebody who has had a repeated injury history throughout his career. He's always pulled a hammy. He's always pulled a groin throughout camp. He is not necessarily the most reliable and most available player. I think that's why the Browns have not chosen to rely on him, or no coaching staff has chosen to rely on him as long as he's been with the Browns, is that factor right there. And Dontrell Hilliard showing a lot of the same skill sets that Duke Johnson has, and I think he is developing into a much more reliable runner. So that is really going to put the question mark up on Duke. It's going to be really interesting to see what the Browns do with Duke Johnson not being happy and Dontrell Hilliard really developing, and the Browns wanting to give carries to their young guy that's happy being here. So it's going to be interesting to see how that situation develops. Looks like a guy who can contribute to a rotation even if he's asked to be a second back, and I'm very excited about his development. The next group, I'm going to say, because there's too many of these guys who are performing well for me to just single out one person, but the secondary looked very, very good, looked very solid. Greedy Williams had some reps with the ones, but he mainly played with the twos. T. Mitch was in there with the ones and the twos, and they both did solid whenever they were out there. Denzel Ward is Denzel Ward. And it was funny to see that the Browns offense had to resort to a lot of short passes just so they could avoid certain people in the secondary, because that's how dangerous this secondary is. So a lot of good things coming out of that secondary. If you watch my video reacting to Ravens camp, you would know that I think the Ravens have the best secondary in the AFC North, and I still think that. But I don't think the Browns are that far behind the Baltimore Ravens. I think if they had a better safety, if they had some better coverage linebackers, they would be a much better defense, or a much better pass defense than Baltimore. But since they don't possess those parts, they can't surpass Baltimore. I think Baltimore is still going to have the best pass defense in the AFC North. If not the entire conference, they're that good. But the Browns aren't that far behind in that area. Now, they're ahead in a lot of other areas, but in that specific area, they aren't. And speaking of a place where they have not looked good, and it's been kicker. The kickers have looked atrocious throughout camp, but Greg Joseph did not. Maybe he kicks better in the stadium. I don't know, but he went 7 for 7 today. Looked really solid, looked dependable, and I might have to eat my words about the Browns not being able to rely on either of these guys, because Greg Joseph looked like a guy who was making his play to stay on the roster. Now, Austin Seibert, on the other hand, no, did not make me want to give him any more of a shot than he's going to get. But Greg Joseph did look good, did look solid. I'm excited to see what he does in the preseason game. Maybe he's somebody who just kicks better in the stadium and knows that environment better. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but Greg Joseph did look excellent today. Now we're going to go to people who disappointed, and I'm going to start with Austin Seibert. Did not look good at all. Missed some kicks. Missed one way out the way, and that wasn't even from that far out. Just looks like a waste of a 5th-round pick, if I'm being honest. And I don't think that I don't think there's a high chance of Austin Seibert making this team. I think Greg Joseph has widened that gap between the two of them, and I think it is going to continue to be widened from that point, because Austin Seibert is not making his case clear, and I don't think this team is in the position to take a chance on a kicker in his development. They need the best kicker available at the moment the season starts, and I don't think that's going to be Austin Seibert. And the next group that disappointed today was the starting linebackers. Did not look great. As much as Sione Takitaki and Mack Wilson flashed on the field and made you watch them, boy, were Joe Schobert and Christian Kirksey kind of forgettable out there. They gave up a lot of touchdowns to tight ends. I think David Njoku had one, and Farrell Brown might have had 2. Did not have a great day out there. Did not look like difference makers out there. Were not noticeable. Were definitely the weakest part of the defense, and that's saying a lot, because the defensive line was missing 2 people, Olivier Vernon and Sheldon Richardson, and they still flash more, because Myles Garrett, by the way, is looking like a absolute beast. Man, that dude is going to be a problem. And I tried to avoid leaving the obvious names off of the positive list. Obviously, we know Baker Mayfield looked good. We know Jarvis Landry looked good. We know Odell Beckham looked good. We know Myles Garrett looked good. But I wanted to go with some of the lesser known names and give you guys a report on that. But Myles Garrett, oh my God. Oh my God. He looked good last year. Oh my God. Myles Garrett is all I'm going to say. But If he stays healthy throughout the preseason, he is going to be an absolute problem for the Tennessee Titans without Taylor Lewan. I'm just going to say that. But the second place where the Browns may have some issues come up. And the second place where the Browns may have some issues come up is the offensive line. Now, the first string unit looked all right. They didn't look great. They had moments where they were just getting pressured. And again, two of the starting D linemen weren't even in there. But any other unit other than that first unit was absolutely abysmal. Just bad. I felt bad for Drew Stanton. I felt bad for Garrett Gilbert because instantly there was somebody in their face. There is no depth to this offensive line. Well, outside of the starting 4 offensive linemen that we know, there are not a lot of guys after that in that rotation that are starting quality. And it's starting to show itself when you see these second and third team snaps. That offensive line just does not look good. It needs more depth, and I hope as training camp goes on, as teams start to make cuts, John Dorsey has his eyes on the Raven wire for not only the defensive line, but the offensive line, because they're going to need some improvement when it comes to depth on that offensive line. Now, I know that they're not going to keep all the second string unit. I know they're not going to keep all the third string unit. They're probably going to keep 2 guys out of those entire groups, but there did not look like there were 2 guys in that entire group that deserved the roster spot. They did not look great, the second and third team offensive line. The first team offensive line was up and down, did give up a lot of pressure, did make Baker Mayfield have to get out the pocket a lot. But that's why you got Baker Mayfield, and I hope that they can fix that over time. The second and third string unit, bad. Did not look good at all. Gave up a lot of pressure and just did not look solid. Now that I've been to Ravens camp and I've been to Browns camp, the question is, what are the differences between the two camps? And I'm going to do a whole video on this later on after I go to Cincinnati's camp and Pittsburgh's camp. But what I can tell you, that there isn't much of a difference defensively between what I saw from the Ravens and what I saw from the Browns. Both teams are going to have good defenses. I think the Ravens have a potential to have a better defense. But if Myles Garrett looks as nasty in the regular season as he's looked in camp, then the Browns might have the nastiest defense in the AFC North. Might. I'm going to be modest on that. Still have some holes. And the linebackers concern me. It makes me wonder, are they going to plan on just starting Sione Takitaki and Mack Wilson? At least Mack Wilson, because he looks like he can stop a pass out there when he's put in coverage. You know, a lot of flack is going to go to Joe Schobert because he missed so many tackles last year. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. Christian Kirksey has looked awful in coverage. And I'm not going to act like it's been his specialty throughout his career, but he does not look good. Coming off that injury, he does not look like a guy who can adequately shut down tight ends. I mean, Farrell Brown had a great day today. But if you're Christian Kirksey, Farrell Brown had a great day today? Come on, son. And it hurts me every time to say this, because I believe in Kirksey. I love Kirksey as a person from what I know about him. But he does not look like a fit in this defense. What this defense is asking him to do, which is cover more, he does not look like he is apt to do so. And when he's put in that position, he gets taken advantage of. The tight ends look so good today because the linebacker play was not great. I don't want to say awful, not great. It was serviceable, but that's not going to be enough. I think it's going to become a question, not if, but when a guy like Mack Wilson takes over for Christian Kirksey, because they're going to need the versatility and the coverage skills of Mack Wilson in this defense more than they're going to need what Kirksey brings to the table, which unfortunately in this defense is not emphasized as much. And I think that's going to give him real problems, and I don't really think there's much of a future here with Christian Kirksey in this defense. I just don't know if there's a future here for him. And that's the hole that they need to plug. Honestly, the hole at strong safety was almost not noticeable because of how everything was lined up. They have a ton of DBs on this team. That's not the problem. The problem is going to be at linebacker and covering tight ends. And in this division, Baltimore has a set of two very good tight ends. Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews will destroy Christian Kirksey in coverage. Vance McDonald could give Christian Kirksey problems. Again, you're going to have to stop tight ends in this division. Is Christian Kirksey up to doing that? I just don't know. I am not confident. And I think that question certainly needs to be asked. Now, offensively, what are the difference between what I saw from the Ravens offense and what I saw from the Browns offense? And it's different. It's very different. The Browns are going to be a more pass-latent team than the Ravens would be with Lamar Jackson. Not that Lamar Jackson is not a good passer. He is a solid passer. He is an improved passer, but he's not a guy who you're going to rely on his arm. Let's just be real about that situation. Baker Mayfield is a completely different skill set, and he has completely different skilled players around him. Baltimore does not have the wide receivers that the Browns have, and it shows. The Browns have very, very elite talent at wide receiver, and it's very much on display at Browns camp. So I think offensively, the Browns probably, I got to see what I see out of Pittsburgh because they are the defending champs of offense in this division. The Browns certainly, in my opinion, are probably going to have the best offense in the AFC North and could contend for the best defense in the AFC North. This is going to be a good team. This is not going to be an 8-8 team. At least their potential is certainly not 8-8. I think anything below 10-6 is a severe disappointment, and I think 10-6 itself could be a disappointment with the amount of talent that they have on the field. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Still a preseason game, still an entire slate of preseason games to go. But boy, this Browns team looks good and continues to look good. So let's hope that they continue to look good throughout the preseason and into the season and start off hot. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ding that notification bell if you really like me and want to be notified when I upload, which is a lot during this time of the year because, baby, it's football season. And my question to you is now, after seeing and hearing about a week or two of camp, what are your expectations of the Cleveland Browns? Have they changed? Have they lowered? Have they risen? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you want to play fantasy football with me, please, please join the Patreon. If you join the Patreon, just $1 a month, and hit me up with a message saying you want to be in a fantasy football league. I'll write your name down. I'll put you in the league. You can play fantasy football with not just me, but other fans of the show. So please, please check it out. Become a patron and play fantasy football with me throughout the year so you can talk trash about how terrible I am at fantasy football. Please check it out. But that is it for this week's video. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.